It is once again time to huddle up for the weekly Huddle podcast because, as we all know, draft season does not stop, and neither do we. Newt Westen joining you for the final summer scouting positional ranking episode. Really excited to be here with you guys for this. Really excited to cap this off and kind of put a nice bow on what has been a really fun summer for me between my positional rankings being public, me doing this series, and just some of the other things that I've gotten an opportunity to be a part of over the summer. I am extremely appreciative. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and get into my top 10 safeties for the 2026 NFL draft. That's safeties that are draft eligible. Most of these guys that I have on the list do come in as that senior position, but there are a couple guys at the top that I think are really, really good and are going to be able to declare early because of just the amount of dominance that they show at the position. I did only get a chance to watch 10 guys for this episode, so you're seeing effectively where I see all 10 of those guys. As I start to get more within my ranking, you're going to see some guys probably move down a little bit just due to other players that seem to pop a little bit more than them. So just kind of give that caveat first. I always like to, especially when I watch a limited number of players. But with all that said, let's go ahead and let's get into it. My number 10 player for my safety ranking is VJ Payne. VJ Payne comes in at 6'3", 208 pounds out of Kansas State. I'll say right now, the reason that I am talking to you guys about VJ Payne is because of the tape that I saw from him while I was watching his teammate Austin Romaine. There was a play where it was about, I want to say, from the 10 or the 5-yard line. I'm not sure if it was a swing pass or a run to the outside, but Payne completely obliterated the play. And not in a way where it's like, efficient tackle in the backfield. He lit up the ball carrier. And immediately I was like, I have to find out who number 19 on the Kansas State team is. Talk to some of the draft professors and that's VJ Payne, man. He's gonna light you up. And the film that I watched lived up to the name. He is a heavy hitter. He is looking to constantly inflict pain on the ball carriers that he meets. The play strength is evident. He's not going to be like the thickest frame player that you'll see, but he's going to play like he's the biggest player on the field. The build plus the mentality is just something that you want from all of your safeties, and it's something that I was really, really drawn to right away. And then on top of that, not only in run defense, but in pass defense, he does explode downhill really, really well. I mean, like all of these things were making the, kind of prototypical box safety that I think is holding a place in the NFL. While we're going to more 11 personnel, we're going to more pass sets. I think that he does possess kind of that ability to be a presence because he does have coverage ability, but he can thump down when it comes to a run play. Now, where I see him lacking a little bit is going to be primarily in that coverage and the athleticism that comes with that coverage. I think he's a little stiff athletically, everything to be a little choppy to him. I didn't think his change of direction ability was all of that great. The range also was questionable with him. I thought the play speed was very mediocre. I didn't think he stood out a ton in there. And because of that, I think he's a little limited there. And then finally, the kind of calling card for him in coverage is his forced incompletions. I think like with the 8% forced incompletion percentage, that's not a bad percentage to be. It's actually pretty good when you start to like flirt with that double digit mark. but he had two interceptions that were like layups. Like Shooter Sanders on one of them completely overthrew the player. And then the other pick, I believe it was against Tulane. It was thrown beyond the mark. And, BJ Penn was there. He made the play. No discredit to that. But they weren't impressive interceptions, per se. So I think that the ball skills definitely are something that could be improved upon, especially him disrupting what is a highly accurate pass. Really liked what I saw from him in terms of the run, but I think that he is a little bit one-dimensional thus far, so he comes in at number 10 for me. My number 9 player is actually going to be in that same vein. It's Robert Spears-Jennings out of Oklahoma University. He's going to be a player that I think is potentially in this class one of the best run-stopping defenders. He comes in at 6'1", 219 pounds. And from the frame alone, you probably kind of get the feeling for that. But the stats back him up. A little bit lower of a stop percentage at 3.6, but the missed tackle percentage at 10% is really kind of supportive of that. There are, a handful of guys that are going to be pushing 15, 20% with RSJ being more towards that single-digit mark. It's a really comfortable place for him to be at. And obviously the numbers via PFF are really, really solid for him. Look at him on film. You can see the movement downhill easily. He's aggressive when he decides to make that choice to get downhill, and the movement is immediate. He does not have pause. He is going to go from 0 to 60 in a fraction of a second, and it's really a thing of beauty. The hits that he makes are with a purpose. Once again, he's looking to inflict that violence, and it's something that is honestly a sight to behold when you're watching it from the lens of, hey, this is a safety hitting people, not even a middle linebacker. I think that his speed for the position is solid. He does stretch the field a little bit more, and he starts to kind of open up that range. However, the issue for him is going to be the production on the ball. While he's got that wide range, he doesn't necessarily have the FBI football intellect to hone in on where to move with that. I think that when he gets put in man situations, he can be overly handsy, which is going to be definitely an issue of his. And then when you take a look at him in the run game, I love the pursuit that he has and the aggression that he has. But there are times and instances where he does become a little bit overcommitted and he can over-pursue a route. I shouldn't say a route, I'm sorry. When he can over-pursue a run and become too sucked in where the ball carrier is able to get over top of him. So some issues there with him where I love him as a run defender and as a box safety. I want to see a little bit more from him in terms of his coverage ability. I think he's got maybe that kind of unlocked potential to do that, especially when you take a look at his play speed and the range that he possesses. However, he has not done it to this point. So Robert Spears-Jennings out of Oklahoma comes in at number 9 for me. And then at number 8 is going to be a player that has been around college football for a long, long time, and that is Jalen Catalon, now out of Missouri. Before I get into his strengths and weaknesses and go through those things, probably best for him to kind of run things back to what got him to this point. So he is a 7th-year senior. If we take a look at him kind of through the lens, he is heading to Missouri now. Last year, he spent a year at UNLV. The year before that, he spent a year at Texas. The UNLV season was really, really productive. He had 5 interceptions, 2 pass breakups, and he was named to the 2024 All Mountain West first team. And he was a Jim Thornton semifinalist. Really, really impressive year that he was able to put together. Before that, Texas, he suffered effectively a season-ending injury. He had a lower leg injury in 2023. In 2022, his last year at Arkansas, he had a season-ending shoulder and hand injury. I think he had the shoulder injury early, played through it, got the hand injury, and effectively shut him down for the season. His 2021 season at Arkansas, he had a season-ending shoulder injury. And then before that, in 2020, that's when he kind of burst onto the scene. So his 2020 season, he was also, once again, a Jim Thorpe semifinalist. So kind of an intriguing player, 4 years between his Jim Thorpe semifinalist recognitions. Obviously, he's shown the chops both before and after the injuries to do so. In that year, he was also an SEC first team, all SEC first team, and a SEC freshman and a freshman All-American. So, like a lot of things going into his game early on in his career at Arkansas. One of the issues, once again, we're talking about this though, with the injuries. He did have a season-ending knee injury in high school back in 2018. So you kind of pile all these things together, and you're looking at a player that when he's on the field and he's productive, he is one of the best players out there. He is rangy. He can cover a good amount of the field. Not necessarily like, I'm not saying he's a center fielder out there, but he's able to play really good coverage. If you were to put him in like a cover 2 situation, able to play that half of the field really, really well. The athleticism jumps off the page, and the mental processing. He understands the game. He understands play action, when to come downhill. His run support is solid, and the ball skills are phenomenal from him. Another player, he had 5 picks last year. Those 5 picks were earned picks. There's not a one of them that I saw, granted I only watched 3 of them, that were give-me's. He earned all of them. In fact, one of them against, it was Houston. He was rushing as a blitzer, tipped the pass, caught the pass in kind of an awkward situation, and then was able to take it home for a pick 6. So the athleticism, everything, when he's on the field, he is just an absolutely electric player. It's just continuing to be on the field for him and be that type of player down in and down out. Jalen Catalon comes in for me as I start to solidify this a little bit more as that early day 3 pick, but man, he has a lot more to offer than that. Just given the style of play that he has when he's on the field, he just has to stay on the field. So Jalen Catalon, now out of Missouri, comes in at number 8 for me. Now at number 7, probably a little bit quicker of a conversation with Xavier Nwankpa. I think I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Massive human being coming in at 6'2", 215 pounds, earning probably the highest build grade, actually earning absolutely the highest build grade that you could get from me. His 2023 was remarkable. One of the best safeties in college football in that year, bar none. 2024 was a bit of a letdown. If you start to look at some of the issues that he had, he struggled to stay in coverage. The movement looked stiff. It looked like he was really tied to a defender and not as comfortable as he would be maybe more in a free safety role, which I'll absolutely get to in a little bit. The anticipation was lacking, and he wasn't overly dominant in terms of his defense, both from run and pass. Now, the issue with that last year was he played strong safety, and he was asked to do a little bit more up close and in the box in covering your running backs and your tight ends. His game is not that. His game is as a free safety where he's able to roam. He is a freaky athlete with a really, really quick set of wheels to him. He's able to be fairly rangy. and get from sideline to sideline quite well. And the athleticism, well, I think it's stiff at times and not necessarily super fluid. I think he's got some quick twitch to him. He can come down on routes really where he can close down and keep a reception to a short gain or disrupt the pass and get in there. I'm really excited with him going back to free safety ahead of the 2025 collegiate football season. I think with any Iowa player, if you've watched this long enough, you know that I'm a sucker for the Hawkeye players, even with me being a Badger fan. But Xavier Nwaka, I think if he can get back to that 2023 form, and I think with him returning to that position, will be a lot of fun to watch and potentially raise his draft stock because of that higher production and more efficient process about him. So Xavier Nwaka comes in at number 7 for me, and then that leads into my number 6 player, Kamari Ramsey, out of USC. So Ramsey played at 2 years at UCLA before transferring to USC ahead of the 2024 season. He comes in as a redshirt junior, having 1 year of eligibility left ahead of this year. He's a player that when you take a look at him and what he does, there's a large amount of versatility to his game. He will play in the slot. He will play in the box. He will play as a free safety. And it is extremely intriguing, how you can utilize him. I think there are ways that he plays better and worse. For him, I think that the more you can get him in coverage, the better that he's going to be for you. I don't necessarily love him as a run defending safety. I think, number one, the missed tackle percentage is a little concerning. He's got a frame that looks a little bit thinner on film than it may project. He's 6 feet, 202 pounds, and he seems to be almost more of a safety build at like that 190, 195. So I think that if you put him in more coverage situations, he's a little bit better. And I think also when you take a look at him, especially as a box safety and the responsibilities that might come from zone coverage there, he just tends to bite down too hard. And I'm talking about on play action when you have that. He's willing enough as a run defender. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. However, I think he puts himself out of position too often to be a reliable box defender that is asked to kind of, play both sides of it. What he does do really, really well is playing coverage. He's incredibly fluid when it comes to talking about him as a cover corner. The back pedal seems effortless. It almost looks like a deer prancing throughout a field. Like in all honesty, he may be a little bit high, but it seems like he's not really having to even think about it. I think he does move downhill well, which is why USC uses him in the box, but I think he can also close on underneath routes really, really well. And I think that also the ball skills are exactly what you want to see. What he can do at the catch point is extremely impressive. Last year, he had, as I pull it up, 5 pass breakups and a pick. The pick, if you get a chance to watch it, it was against Texas A&M University in the bowl game. Absolutely incredible. He's coming across from I believe the top of the screen from the film that I was watching, and he's not horizontal, but he's diving across the screen to make it. So the ball skills are absolutely above average, something that is really, really impressive. So Kamari Ramsey out of USC comes in here at number 6 for me. And that leads us to my top 5. I'm going to hit a pause here, just kind of once again shouting out the station. If you are this far in the video and you're not subscribed, please, please, please consider subscribing to the Weekly Huddle on YouTube. It will be, I promise you, one of the best things you can do ahead of this year's collegiate football and draft season. All In is putting out amazing content, and it's just going to get ramped up that much more as draft season starts to roll around us. Hit a like on this video, drop a comment for who you think maybe I've missed on, anything that you can do to increase the discourse of this, we absolutely appreciate. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into my top 5. Starting off is going to be Rod Moore out of Michigan. Moore's going to be a name that probably has, amongst draft circles, floated around for a little bit now. Last year, obviously hopes of coming out based on obviously how his season turns out. However, he is injured in spring training and he's unable to play at all last year. He suffered, I want to say, an ACL tear, I think in the spring of 2024, and kept him out all last year. I do think that the injury is also had a setback. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to start this year. I know it's kind of been a long timetable for his return from an ACL tear, so that does leave me with a little bit of concern. Anytime you're dealing with that ACL injury for more than 12 months, it does start to become a concern of mine. But when Rod Moore's been healthy in his first 3 years, he has been electric. He's been at Michigan throughout the entirety of his career. He's played over 1,500 snaps in 3 years, and realistically, it's more like 2 years, a handful of snaps his freshman year, but his, I want to say his sophomore and junior years when he really started to show out. He was a all Big Ten third team during his junior year. Incredible player, one that was able to impact the game really at all levels of a defensive calling. He was solid in run defense. He was solid in pass protection. And really kind of that your do-it-all safety. When you take a look at him, he has good range in cover 2. I'm not saying he's a true center fielder, but if you put him in a cover 2 look, he moves really well as a blanket defender for your vertical routes and also coming down on any underneath routes. He has really good instincts that are going to allow him to be a disruptor at the catch point. It feels like he just has that kind of half-second jump on a quarterback and on a receiver that allows him just to kind of be there and be an over presence. And then the athleticism absolutely jumps off the page. I think if he can return to his injury, return from his injury to where he was, he is going to be a player that you look to be an immediate impact, not only for, like I just mentioned, the athleticism, but the leadership and all of the elements that he impacts on a defense. Now, for him, I think that he does have a little bit of a slender frame. He can add some weight to that. Not sure where that shakes out this year after him coming off of a ton of rehab and recovery. Might not be the top of his list, but I think if he's going to be an impactful run defender, well, he's got the mentality and the technique. He does need to add some mass to his frame. The injury history, though, like as I mentioned, is going to be the biggest thing for him. So I'm really excited to see Rod Moore this year. Obviously, with Michigan, they're always going to get really stellar talent. With Rod Moore, you get a 4-star recruit and one that has proven that when he's on the field, he's an impact player. It's just about getting him back on the field, getting him back to that form, and keeping him fresh and able to impact the offenses that Michigan faces. So Rod Moore comes in at number 5 for me, and that leaves Michael Taaffe here at number 4. Michael Taaffe, admittedly, probably a guy I didn't think I'd be this high on. When you see a 0-star recruit, you inevitably think of, oh, that's kind of a cool story, a cool player to point to, but someone that, has still the odds stacked against them. Taaffe really shows out, and up until I watched really the player ahead of Taaffe, I had him as a firm top 3 safety because of just how he plays the game. His experience and results in single high safety are ridiculous. I don't think he's necessarily the best athlete, and he's definitely not the quickest player out there, but he has such good instincts that he's able to play that single that single high role really, really well. He did it for Texas as Andrew Makuba's kind of moved around a little bit more as a chess piece. Tapp was that cover guy that was able to do a lot of things over the top that made that Texas defense both dynamic and also preventative. So I think Taft goes in and he does a lot of things well with that. The range comes from the IQ and the instincts. He is so incredibly smart as a player that he allows really any team that gets their hands on him to develop him into a blanket cover guy. I think that he's one of the best coverage and maybe not rangy defenders in this class, but like pushing it just due to the instincts he has. Not even the athletic ability, which is okay, but it's the instincts that he has him really, pushing the boundaries of where he should be. The ball skills are phenomenal. If you need to see where they're at, check out the Texas A&M game. Check out the pick that he's got against them. It is absolutely incredible. He is able to contort his body, get himself in a situation where he's making a play on the ball, and there might be a pass interference from the cornerback, but the play on the ball that Taft makes is just a testament to his ball skills, which is really more so what I am concerned with. That paired with the fact that he's beyond rangy, just a good coverage safety in general, and he triggers down really well, creates a really, really exciting player. Now, as I mentioned, the recovery speed, the speed in general is okay. I don't think he's necessarily a dominant downhill defender. If I'm drafting this guy, I'm drafting a coverage player. I'm drafting a true free safety. At the NFL level, I don't know if he's going to be able to be a single high guy. I probably would have reservations about that based on his speed, but I'm drafting him to be a coverage guy. I think that the downhill defender is a work in progress. Now, that's not to say that he can't be, because this guy has a hot motor. He's looking to lay hits down. You can see that. There's obviously the controversial hit against Arizona State in the final seconds of regulation for that game. Taft will close on a player. He will lay a hit. I think it's just more instincts and having an understanding for when to close versus when to stay back, which is something that he needs to work on. I think that he could develop into that good run defender or adequate one defender, but he definitely needs some time to get there. And then just beyond that, I think it's kind of an element of the way that he plays football. He's looking for the big hit. Ultimately, he leaves a lot of meat on the bone with missed tackles. He had over a 20% missed tackle rate, which as a safety, as the last line of defense, you can't have an over 28% missed tackle rate. It's truly just unacceptable. It's one of the things I mentioned with Kamara Ramsey. It's one of the things I'm bringing up here with Taft. He's got to improve upon that. But if the intensity stays there, if the coverage stays there, if he can improve his run defense and drop that missed tackle rate, we're talking about a really, really special player, and one that, once again, I wanted to have him in my top 3, and I think that he could absolutely sneak in there depending on the play of the others in my top 3. But Michael Taft comes in at number 4 for me, and that brings up my top 3, which may be my favorite player in this class, one that I immediately saw and I fell in love with, and that is Terry Moore. I don't know why I have a typo in there. I apologize for that, Terry Moore. But Terry Moore out of Duke. So he's a senior out of Duke. He comes in at 6'1", 200 pounds. Really, really good build to him. kind of what you want to see out of a really solid coverage safety. So with him, the range, the coverage, and everything, the instincts, it's all there, and you can see it at a small and a large level. To give you a little bit of background on him, he's been playing safety for 2 years. He was recruited by Duke to be a running back. He played that his whole first year, and he converted over to safety his second year, and played that also last year. With that, he was in last year's season a all ACC second team player. So a really, really impressive jump and turnaround for him, going from playing running back and having 30 attempts his freshman year to now having over 1,100 snaps at safety throughout his sophomore and junior year, and getting that second team all ACC recognition. Part of what really bolsters him as a prospect is going to be his ball skills and his instincts. He had 4 picks and 5 pass breakups, as well as kind of like leading to a 15.6 forced incompletion percentage. From a safety, when you're looking at numbers like that and you're able to make plays on the balls in that regard, it is an incredible mark to be at. So as a free safety, he's really, really solid. But even when you put him in a slot defender role, he is challenging receivers, jamming them at the line, and really wreaking havoc on them at their route breaks within that first 5 yards. I think that, like, when you look at him, the run game is adequate. It's not blow you out of the water good, but he has solid run defense given kind of the experience. And I think some of that may come from just understanding running back tendencies, but he plays well with his physical abilities to be able to be an effective run defender. And he is constantly playing with a high motor. There is no down where you see him taking off. Every single snap is, what can I do to make my team better? Which, with any player, when you're putting that out there, it's one of the best things that you can do. Frame, little bit thin. You want to add a little mass. Missed tackling percentage coming from an offensive player to a defensive player is going to be a little bit lower. He's another 16% guy. When you see that, obviously you want to see it improve. Not necessarily the end of the world. Like I said, TAF was over 20%, so there is a little bit of better comparison within there, but it still has to improve. And then the top end speed is okay, but he does need to give a little bit more of a cushion to deep threat players. He's aware of that, but it does limit his ability to cover the underneath route. So I think that, like, he does have some specific athletic limitations, but everything else to his game, once again, we're talking about a 2-year sample size, is phenomenal. If he's able to do that within 2 years, I am so incredibly excited for what he can do as he continues to develop and grow within that role. So Terry Moore comes in here at number 3 for me out of Duke, and that gives way to my top 2, which I'll say right now, this might be a little controversial. My number 2 is a lot closer to Terry Moore than is the distance between my 2 and my 1. And that is Dylan Thieneman. Dylan Thieneman spent 2 years at Purdue as, and we talked about it on this channel, Max Clare being, kind of a rock for that skill group for Purdue. Thieneman was effectively the same thing for the defense for them. Honestly, I had actually a little bit of a struggle watching Thieneman tape because it felt like Purdue used him in the wrong way because they just tried to ask him to do everything. I actually had to ask a friend, Anthony Russo, hey, I've just gotten done watching one game from Thieneman. Tell me why you are so high on this guy. Where are we at? He recommended Penn State game to me. and he did ball out in there. But Thieneman, player that is extremely athletic, has a good burst to him. I want to say he's like in the 4.3s from some of the 40 times that I saw from spring ball. Really, really exciting player athletically. His freshman year at Purdue was second to none effectively because you don't have necessarily that alpha in there. He won the Big Ten Thompson Randall L Freshman of the Year within that role. He was an All-American, third-team All-American via AP, freshman All-American via multiple outlets, and a coach's second team All Big Ten. The things that he was able to do were just so incredibly impressive his freshman year. Unfortunately, Purdue asked him to do, in my opinion, a little bit too much during his sophomore year, which was unfair to him. So what I really, really liked from his game was his ability to move downhill and really explode upon plays. It looks like he shot out of a cannon when he moves downhill. Something that I wouldn't mention much, but the conditioning for him is incredibly impressive. If you watch the Notre Dame game, which I don't watch it first. I made the mistake of watching it first. Do not watch it first. If you are, he's playing 25 yards off the line of scrimmage. It looks like they're setting up for a punt when you check it out. In about 2/3 of the plays, he's exploding 25 yards downfield to try to make a play on the ball carrier. And he just does it over and over and over, and he never loses his intensity. The respect that I have for him for that, and just for like down in, down out doing that, is incredibly impressive. I think he's rangy as a cover defender and as a free safety, and I think a lot of that comes from the speed, athleticism, but also conditioning that he brings to the game. And the IQ that he has is extremely, extremely high for the position. He has, for being true sophomore tape that I'm watching, just an understanding of the game that few have. Now, for Thieneman, he's got a higher missed tackle rate last year. It's not awful. It was 12.8%. He had 5 missed tackles in the Notre Dame game. You take those 5 away, he's like single digits. And that Notre Dame game was when he was playing that 25 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he was asked to just come down like a rocket. And there are so many things that creates in terms of challenges for a defender, where I'm more than willing to give him a pass for that. So I think like in run defense, he's solid. Maybe there are some things he can clean up. The missed tackle percentage, I'll probably keep an eye on this year, but I would definitely expect it to be lower with Oregon not playing him in such an absurd defensive scheme. I do think his pursuit is a little questionable. He does get sucked in too far and almost over pursues a running back, where he gets caught, where I think he's got good speed, but there are times where he is just out of position where a running back blows by him, whether it is through the middle, through a blown pocket, or on the outside, and he's just too far in. There was a couple times I did see that. And then the coverage in cover 2 or 3 could be a little bit tighter. You see him sometimes covering tight ends in man coverage. I'd like to see that a little bit tighter. I think he's too good of an athlete and too explosive to give that much of a cushion. I want to see him close down and create a smaller window of separation for those players to either A, get more production on the ball, or B, discourage that throw a little bit more. So Dylan Thieneman comes in for me, as I start to get a better handle on this, does have a true first round grade for me to kind of give you kind of where I see him at, but very, very close to Terry Moore, my number 3 defender on the list. But then coming in at number 1, if you have really any sense of college football, you know who I'm going to be talking about, and that is Caleb Downs out of the Ohio State University. There are very few players. There's I take it back. There is not a player that I've watched where the abilities and successes of that player stood out on tape that quickly for me than Caleb Downs. Effectively, everything that he wants to do and that is expected of a safety at the collegiate level, he does. I don't know if there's a thing where like he's the absolute best at. Like he's not the biggest guy out there. He comes in at 6 foot 205. Not a bad size at all. But he's not necessarily like the biggest guy out there. He's not the quickest guy out there. He's not the best athlete out there. He's not the strongest guy out there. But he's maybe like a notch below all of that. But he does everything for you. Like he's a extremely good athlete, extremely strong player, really well built player, solid quickness to him. And when you start combining all of those things that are highly above average, maybe not elite, but like knocking on the door, you're getting a player that is not generational, but does not come around in every single draft. I think that with Caleb Downs, you're talking about a player that may rival your Kyle Hamiltons of the world, and I think will definitely get drafted ahead of a Kyle Hamilton. Just to read the strength that I have for him, until a turnover, whether it's on downs, a pick, a forced fumble, he is business. If there is any form of a gain that is beyond what is expected, he is looking at and questioning his teammates, asking them and dissecting what went wrong, what can we do better next time. There was a play that I can specifically think of where there's a blown coverage against Michigan. Jack Sawyer ended up covering a player that was on an intermediate comeback route. Michigan's quarterback overthrew him, and the play ended up as an incompletion. Sawyer, obviously kind of in an awkward situation, was happy about it. But Caleb Downs, he was pissed off. He was angry about it. It was a positive play for the Buckeyes, one that there was no gain from Michigan, yet he was still angry because the defense hadn't figured it out. There was a blown coverage. There's no plays off for this player. He moves incredibly well downhill, in coverage, in backpedal, laterally. Just fluid athlete all around. His build is thicker. It's not super long, but he's built thick enough where he is imposing and run defense, and it allows him to be an extremely versatile player. He can play both run and pass at high levels both. And then you put on top of all of this, he's a natural born leader. He started his career at Alabama, and just to like list him at Alabama, he was SEC Freshman of the Year, All SEC First Team, All SEC First Team. Yes, he made the freshman SEC team, but he was All SEC First Team. Stupid mark to be at. And then, on top of that, he won the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year award in 2023. Incredible player. With the leaving of Nick Saban, transfers over to Ohio State. And what does he do there? He's a Jim Thorpe Award finalist. He is a 2023 All-American second team. Should have been first team. All Big Ten first team player. Caleb Downs is an absolute freak at the position. Any situation he steps into, Bama to Ohio State, and as we start to look at him in his second year there, further on to the NFL, he is the kind of player that you want in your system. He's the kind of player that is able to lead and change the identity and culture of a defense. Now, are there things that he can improve upon? Yes. His missed tackle percentage could stand to go down. Last year, he was at 10.5%. I would love to see it in single digits. That's extremely nitpicky. I think that he can play out of control at times when trying to move downhill. Sometimes he can get caught behind a pulling guard or guard moving to the second level and actually lose sight of the ball carrier. And then I think this top speed is okay, but there are times where if you have a quicker receiver, he can get beat if he's out of position. The issue is, for those receivers, Caleb Downs doesn't get out of position. The dude is an absolute freak. He comes in at number 2 on my board, and the only reason he comes in at number 2 and not number 1 is because of the position multiplier that I have for safeties versus quarterbacks. I'm going to drop that big board coming up a little bit later, but Caleb Downs, absolutely deserving of a top pick in this upcoming draft as long as he just continues to do the things that he's done at Ohio State and during his collegiate career. And that's what we have for this episode of Weekly Huddle podcast, breaking down our safety group. So running from 1 to 10, we have Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, Dylan Thieneman out of now Oregon, Terry Moore out of Duke, Michael Taft from Texas, and Rod Moore rounding out our top 5 from Michigan. Getting number 6, we have Kamari Ramsey, USC, Xavier Wampka from Iowa. I apologize if I'm saying that name wrong. I really, really do. Jalen Catalon, now out of Missouri, formerly from UNLV, Texas, Missouri. Arkansas. Jalen Catalon's played a lot of places. RSJ, Robert Spears Jennings out of Oklahoma, and then BJ Payne out of K-State. That's going to wrap up this episode of the Weekly Huddle. As always, I've really appreciated you guys hanging out with us. Those that have been tuning in every week, I cannot tell you how much it means to me. I know Owen as well appreciates it. Just to kind of sit in, listen to what we have to say. If you're enjoying the football talk, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss what is coming up next, which is going to be a lot of content from Owen, as well as some streams from the Draft Professor as we start getting more into the college football season and then later on draft season. As always, you can keep up with the show on YouTube by searching Weekly Huddle, or you can keep up with them on Twitter at Weekly Huddle. You can also find me on Twitter at NFL Draft _Weston. Typically, I'm putting out my takes and scouting notes between the episodes, and as we hit our last episode, I'll be rounding out the clips that I have from my safeties and corners that I have yet to finish up. So all of those pieces as we're getting into the college football season are, just kind of icing on the cake. Something we're excited for now that football is back and starting to get in full swing. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you later.